Hi, this is Julie with Beadaholique, and today I want to show you how to make a holiday ornament using a lovely Swarovski crystal pendant and then beading the actual hook you're going to use to hang the ornament on the branch. First off is you're going to need to choose a pendant. I have some various shapes here which are very much holiday inspired. There's a cross, a lovely Baroque pendant, a star, snowflake, a moon. Some are in clear crystal. Others have a lovely AB finish which gives them more color. See, this is almost reflecting like an orangey pink, and it'll vary all the way to blue. So after you've chosen your actual pendant, you're going to want to choose the beads that you're going to use to create your actual hook. I've got some 4mm bicones here. I've got some that are just in crystal and some are in crystal AB. I've also got some size 11/0 seed beads. And I've pulled a couple other samples for you to see as well. There's, of course, a wide variety of seed beads to choose from. I think for the holidays and when you're working with the crystals, it's nice to have a foil-lined seed bead, a pure crystal, an AB, maybe some golds and coppers. Really, your only limitation is your imagination. In terms of the tools you're going to need, it's going to really vary on what style of hook you're going to make to secure your pendant to the tree. I've got a thread zapper here, crimping pliers, flush cutters, a pair of scissors, and then most importantly I have the actual stringing material. And again, this is going to really vary on what type of hook you're going to make. I have some Beadalon Wildfire, which is a very strong beading thread. You're not going to just want to use like a Nymo or a KO. You're going to want something stronger since these are a bit heavy and they're really, very fragile, so you want to make sure that they're secured tightly and that your beading's not going to come undone. I also have some soft flex beading wire, and I'm going to show you how to use both of these. So there's a couple different ways you can make your loop that's going to go around your branch. The first one I want to show you is actually going to be the easiest, and that is just taking some beading wire, cutting a length about 12 inches, placing a bead stopper on one end, just stringing a strand of beads. I did about 3.5 inches of beads, and I just alternated. I did 3 seed beads, a bicone, 3 seed beads, a bicone. Really very simple. When I got to the area where I actually wanted to string it through the hole in my star, I went ahead and I did 5 seed beads just to give myself some extra room so that it could slide easily through that hole. And then I made the other half a mirror image of the first. So what you can see now is when you hold these up, they're going to be even. And the way I put the beads onto the beading wire, very, very simple here. You don't need a needle or anything. I just went and I used the end of the beading wire, picked up my beads, and then slid them down. So what you're going to want to do is when you get to this point, you've got your star captured in the middle. You're going to want to remove both bead stoppers. And then I want to show you something I did here on the first part of this, and I'll actually take it off just so I can restring it for you to show you how easy this is. So I've been doing a pattern of 3 seed beads, a bicone, 3 seed beads. So up at the top, which was my starter, instead of doing 3 seed beads, I did a seed bead, a silver crimp tube, and a seed bead. And now what I want to do to create my loop is I'm going to take the other end of my beading wire and I am going to thread it through the first couple beads all the way to the bicone. So I went through the seed bead and the crimp tube, the other seed bead and the bicone. And you can see what happens when I do that is it forms this wonderful loop. I wanted to make my loop about 3.5 inches long, which meant I had to string about 7 inches of beads. And then what I want to do is, before I crimp my crimp tube, I want to take the other end of my beading wire, thread it through the bicone. There we go, and just pull snug. These are so easy to make and they look so stunning. They would make a perfect hostess gift this holiday season, or if you give ornaments to family members as gifts, or even make one for yourself. So once you've got these 2 wires coming out opposite ends, you're just going to take your crimping pliers, place them over the crimp tube, make that first crimp, rotate, and then do the second part of your crimping. And then what you're going to see is that is not going anywhere. That is really strong. So now you're going to take your flush cutters, go right up to the bicone in my case, but you could have just strung these with just seed beads. You didn't have to add the bicone. And I'm just trimming off the excess wire. And there we actually have a finished ornament. So that is one way to do it. Now another way, a little bit fancier, is I actually did some bead weaving of a daisy chain, and I did a daisy, a bicone, daisy, bicone all the way through, and you'll see I did about 7 inches worth. And we have another video on Beadaholique showing you how to actually bead weave a daisy chain if you'd like to do this method. And I thought this would look really pretty with a snowflake. And you can see I've got my bead stopper still on my daisy chain, and I actually have my Wildfire thread still threaded onto my needle. And so what I want to do is I want to go through that hole, and in order to do that is instead of making another daisy or adding another bicone, I'm going to place 5 of my seed beads onto my needle, pull them down, go through the hole in your crystal. Now I'm going to take the other end of my daisy chain, and I'm going to place my needle through the first bead of my first daisy and the second one. I'm going to pull that through, get those two ends to meet, and now I'm actually going to go all the way through my daisy. It's that first daisy again. And you'll see it's got some little gap right there. That's fine. I'm going to tighten that up in a minute. Keep going through your daisy. Okay, pull it snug. You really want to make sure you have a very strong, tight hold here. So what I'm going to do is at this point, I'm going to go back through those seed beads, those 5 seed beads that I strung through the hole. Pull it. And at this point, I'm going to go back through my other daisy that's on this end, which was technically the last daisy I beaded. So on the other side, we were going back and reinforcing the thread through the first daisy we beaded. On this one, we're going back the opposite way, the last daisy. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to start tying off your thread. So just make a simple overhand knot, pull that tight, continue going through your daisy. I actually like to use surgeon's knots as well. I'll show you how to do that. I just want to make sure this is really very well reinforced, just in case your tree is perhaps standing on a hardwood floor or something. You wouldn't want this to drop to the ground. So I'm going to go in at first, like so. Instead of just going through it once, I'm going to go through it twice. And pull down. And I am a believer in really reinforcing, so I'm just going to keep going through my daisy. And then what I'll do is I will just take my thread zapper. There we go. Now I'm going to go back to the other side, which has my bead stop on it, and take my needle off of my scrap piece of thread now, and I'm going to pull my stop bead out, rethread my needle onto this tail, and I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm just going to go back through my daisy. And actually, since I've gone through this daisy already a couple times, it can get a little bit tight. So what I'm going to do is when I get to the point up here of this bicone. I'm going to start going through the bicone. You can see here. So that way, instead of having to go back through that daisy and end up where the threads are really getting a little bit thick and tight, going through the bicone, going to do a knot. Now I'm going to keep going through more seed beads. And I like to place knots just sporadically. Do a double one here. Make sure it's good and tight. Keep going. Just weaving that tail back into the bead weaving. I might even choose to go back through that bicone one more time. And really, you don't have to do it exactly to this design. You can do whatever you like. Just make sure that you're tying off your thread in multiple places, that you reinforce going back through the beads which are within the hole of your crystal, and that when you feel you've got it secure, you just use your thread zapper or a fine pair of scissors. Remove that thread, and there you have another ornament. So these are two different styles of ornaments you can make, and they would make an absolutely lovely gift or a keepsake for this holiday season.